All right, guys. So today we're going to be digging deep into a topic that's really important in my life. I mean, it's something that we strive to do on a daily basis, but we're also actually out, going out into the world and the community, trying to make sure that we're being intentional about introducing ourselves, and that's personal growth. And where do we get it? How do we absorb it? And what are the components of it? And today, Brian and I are super excited to welcome Scott Comey to Raising Real Estate Standards. Scott is a fellow colleague of ours, and Scott is co-owner of Turn the Dial Coaching and Podcast. He's an entrepreneur. He is an author. He has written the book, Are You a Manager or a Leader? And we'll get you guys that information here short or in the show notes. But this book was written to help leaders become more inspiring to others. Scott is a co-owner of 4 RE/MAX offices and a Motto Mortgage office in Snohomish County. Is that right?
Snohomish County, yeah.
Fantastic. In Washington State. And, he dedicates himself to real estate agents and loan officers, pouring himself into helping them achieve their life aspirations and helping them grow their businesses. Scott also started a 501c3 nonprofit with a colleague called Making Miracles Support Foundation. This organization is designed to support the Children's Miracle Network and the Seattle Children's Hospital, which is we're all about helping our community and building those different things up. So that is fantastic. Scott has, he's coached agents and he trains, he does training classes. He's a speaker in multiple conferences across the country. He and his wife, Renee, are huge coffee and wine connoisseurs, and they love watching live music, going to concerts. But one of Scott's biggest things is Scott is a proud veteran, having served 16 years in the military between the Army and the Air Force Reserves. And Scott, let me first say thank you for your service. We really appreciate it. But I'm excited to get into picking Scott's brain, because I know that personal growth is a big part of his life. That's a big part of what he promotes to his agents, and looking forward to unpacking all of this.
Awesome. Well, I'm very happy to be here, and I love your guys' podcast, and listened to a couple episodes actually just yesterday. So to get kind of caught up. So
yeah. We appreciate it.
So Scott, why don't you tell us a little bit about kind of personal growth in your life and kind of what has driven you to kind of, dive into this?
Yeah, well, for me, it's all about not reinventing the wheel, right? There have been people that have lived before me, and why wouldn't I take advantage of the knowledge that they have, the mistakes that they've made, so that hopefully I'm not making the same mistakes. Now, of course, sometimes I veer off of the advice that I'm given, like a lot of us sometimes do. And I get humbled by that experience. I learn from that experience. But wouldn't it be nice if we lived in a world where there was podcasts and books and classes and seminars that you can attend, so that you can faster track your way to a better life or success in real estate?
Absolutely.
And so that's kind of why I personally follow a lot of others like yourselves.
Yeah,
so,
I love that statement, and one of our coaches has always stated that the purpose of a brokerage or a coach or whoever it is that you're looking to, their job is to shorten the time frame from where you are now to where success lies.
Right.
And if you can do that, if you can go out and get that from a podcast, from a coach, from a mentor, from whoever, that is time and a lot of times money well spent.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Warren Buffett has this quote: the best investment you can make is an investment in yourself. The more you learn, the more you earn. So we've all heard that before. But more importantly than that, I heard Darren Hardy speak multiple times. I love following him and his Darren Daily. By the way, I don't know if your listeners know about Darren Hardy, but darrendaily.com, they can get a free little snippet, little motivational thing every morning to their email box. And that's something I've been doing for years. But Darren Hardy says, invest 10% back into yourself, 10% of your income back into yourself. And when I first heard him state that, it becomes challenging, especially as you do make more money, to invest 10% back into yourself. But if you think about all the different things you can do to invest in yourself, I already mentioned a couple of them: reading and listening to podcasts, buying audiobooks, attending seminars, trainings. The National Association of Realtors conference is coming up in November. That could be a good place for somebody to go and learn. I know that we're getting ready to, you guys and myself and my wife are getting ready to go to a conference in a couple of weeks to better ourselves. And maybe there's designations out there, certifications that agents might want to earn. There's a spot where they can invest, $300-400 to earn a specific designation. And so there's different ways that you can really invest in yourself. And a lot of them are actually free, like podcasts. So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. And I've always said, you don't want to be the smartest person in the room, because if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. It's time to find a new room.
Right.
And so obviously always, you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know that till you go seek, advice and counsel from others.
Absolutely.
And it's super important.
Hey, Scott, real
Yeah.
quick. So, do you run into this with some of your agents? Because, it takes time. It takes time to pour into yourself. And when I, as a top producing sales agent, am running ragged because I'm just, in the rat race, just constant, grinding and grinding and grinding, where do I find that time?
Funny that you should mention that, because I'm actually getting ready right after this to teach a class called Activities Management Bootcamp. And so, and in my book, I actually talk about this too in chapter 7, where, and the name of that chapter is Leaders Seek to Grow Personally. And one of the one of the final steps in growing personally is time blocking. And in Activities Management Bootcamp, there's an acronym that we use: PD, personal development. So if you were to go into my calendar right now, you would see multiple blocks. I've got PD in there. I've got prospecting blocks in there. I've got personal blocks in there, and this is time dedicated to specific activities. So PD, personal development, is a time that you need to dedicate, and you need to find time uh, outside, obviously, of your family and outside of your business, that is going to be uninterrupted and potentially a consistent time frame every day. So give you an example. For my wife and I, we time block every single morning. Thank you to the book Miracle Morning for this, but we time block every morning to read and scribe. So we journal every morning and we read every morning, and that way we at least start our day off the right way. Right. The other thing I think agents can do is take a look at your office's calendar, and are there any trainings that week or next week that could be relevant to you? I know sometimes as we get busier as agents, we believe that we know a lot already and that we don't need to take a class on open houses or any of this other stuff that may be offered. But there are nuggets that you might get. Even if you got one golden nugget from a class, it's going to be worth it in the end. And so investing that time to enter the classroom, investing that time to read 10 pages a day, start somewhere. 10 pages a day. Can you read 10 pages a day? Can you listen to a podcast instead of music on your way to the office or on your way to a listing appointment? That's how you can kind of work in those different elements.
Yeah, that's great, man.
And so those nuggets that you talk about, so you sit in an agent sits in on an hour and a half long class. You and I both know, as people who are teaching these classes and having these training sessions, that if you get 10 seconds or 15 seconds of a nugget that you're going to be able to take, internalize, and put into action, it can revolutionize your entire business of 15 seconds of an hour and a half class. It is amazing what just a small snippet will do.
Absolutely, yeah. And I have sat through 3 and 4 hour sessions and gotten really one valuable thing that absolutely transformed my business. Let's say that most of the stuff that was being taught, I felt pretty familiar with already. But then that one idea was something that absolutely changed my business forever. And so that's what you potentially might be missing out on by not attending some of these classes. And, I know when I first started teaching open house boot camp, just to give you an example, I thought to myself, I've been doing open houses for years. What all can I learn from this class? And little did I know that there was some specific dialogues that I had never used or thought of using, and that I started to implement in my own personal business when I used to sell. That absolutely started making my open houses that much more successful, right? So you never know what you're going to get out of a class. And let's be honest, most agents aren't with their clients or needing to be with their clients 24/7. So they've got pockets of time. Go to a class, plug into a classroom, especially if it's an hour and a half, maybe up to 2 hours long. That's not bad, especially if they're providing lunch or snacks, or, I mean, we need to eat too. So there you go.
Absolutely. And I would say that, you mentioned, we're talking, a lot of our agents in our offices are that I would consider that top producing agent that have had really good years the past 2 or 3 years. And if you pull back and say, have you invested 10%, literally 10% of your income? I would bet there was not one that could say that they put 10% into their business or into their self development. But
Right.
one of the big thing, we're both with a large brokerage, and we have an annual conference that happens every year, same time every year, same place. You can
Yep.
bank when it's going to happen, and take just a small portion. That trip. If you go and attend that conference, the networking, the classes, what you're going to pull out of that is going to far exceed what you put into it. And we know that cost, while there is a cost there, it's not close to even a 1% pour back into your business. So
Absolutely.
walk us through some of the ahas that you've taken from some of these larger brokerage seminars, and for us it's called R4. Every other brokerage or a lot of the other big brokerages has theirs. It's important to attend those.
Absolutely. And with these larger brokerage conferences, they tend to have multiple sessions during each hour, right? So, what I love about that, and I talk about this in my book too, that one of the first things you should do in your personal development journey is you should kind of self audit, where am I today? Or let's take last year, for example, in 2021, what classes did I take that helped me in my business? What areas did I struggle with? Did I struggle with conversion? And or do I want to start doing video and I don't know where to start? So I say that because when you go to these conferences, whether it's the realtors conference or your local company's conference, they've got these different sessions during each hour. So you can plug into something that's relevant to you, that's going to propel that skill set and make you that much better of an agent. And so that's the biggest thing that we promote to our agents if they're going to any of these conferences is take a look at that schedule and try to figure out, where do you want to improve in your business, and plug into those classes. If you're the person that says, I'm never going to do video, for example, I'm just too scared to do it, then that's the class you need to go to, because you never know what you're going to get from that. You're going to probably get somebody that says, just do it. Just use your iPhone, or the camera that's on your phone, and just start doing video. And so those easy um, moments at these sessions are going to give you the strength, the courage, and the skill set to really thrive in this business. And so that's what I really love about these different conferences is you get to choose what's going to be taught to you. And so, yeah.
There's so much information out there now that, I mean, you can just pick and choose what it is you'd like to have and feed on in your personal growth. But I feel like you have to have this mindset. And sometimes we run into this, not as much now as we used to, but we run into this mindset of, I know everything. I've got it. I don't need anything else because I got this and nobody can do it better than me. And it's almost like you have to break that mindset in order to really, really jump in deep with this.
Yeah. In our coaching that we do, a lot of times we get agents that have a pretty flush pipeline, right? They've got a lot of prospects in the hopper, but they're not really closing deals. And I think what could happen, a trap that can happen to agents is that could happen to them, right? Maybe they're getting lots of referrals, maybe they're getting lots of leads, but their numbers aren't really reflecting that. And that tells me, and this is why I say you need to take a hard self audit and really look at yourself. That tells me they've got a conversion issue, right? They're struggling with conversion. And sometimes it's hard for us to admit that we might have a challenge with something like that. And so plugging into the right classes that are offered either at our local brokerage or at a conference like we're talking about, or even a designation, can be a huge help so that you are starting to convert at a higher level. Most agents struggle to get those leads in. So wouldn't it be a bummer if you got all of this business in that you weren't able to convert on? So yeah, that's conversion. I think is one of the biggest challenges a lot of agents do have.
Yeah, no question. A lot of the coaching that we do, and I think it's going to shift with market is adjusting, and the ability to convert deals, as you've mentioned, is going to be so hypercritical, and it's really time to dig into that. But a lot of the coaching conversations that we're having is business but life based. These top producing agents that are making $500,000, pretty consistently, financially life is grand, but time and emotional and family wise, it's a struggle because they're so ingrained and dedicated to their business. As that's good, but how do we find that work life balance? And I know a lot of conversations that we have is around that work life balance, and it's my take that I don't think you have to work 80 hours a week to
Right.
work at a high level. I think you can work that at 40, 30 hours a week and still produce
Hmm.
the same results. And having that mentality shift or getting someone to open their eyes to that's a possibility are conversations that we're having. You're a voracious reader.
Right.
Walk us through. Tell me if as you're looking in and you started going down this personal growth road, what resources have you turned to that are outside of yourself, outside of one-to-one conversations? What books, what resources have you turned to that really have revolutionized how you personally live?
Well, I mentioned Miracle Morning. That has absolutely transformed my life, and I think a lot of that book by Hal Elrod is about setting yourself up for success every morning, so that before your workday even starts, you feel accomplished. And I think that energy that you get by starting your day off with a little exercise, with a little reading, with a little journaling, is really going to uh, get you in the right mindset to attack the day so that you're not doing the wrong activities throughout the day. And in our coaching, a lot of times what we tell the people that we coach is when they come to us and they say, hey, I've already done all the things that we talked about, coach, what else should I be doing? I say, go home and spend it with your family. you know if you've already done all the prospecting activities, you've got nothing pressing, go home and spend it with your family. And so I think plugging into books, Miracle Morning is a good one to get your mindset right in the morning. The 12-week year, I'm a certified trainer with the 12-week year. That book is awesome. If you haven't read that book, it's a New York Times bestseller, all about getting more done in 12 weeks than most people get done in 12 months. And so if you're feeling overwhelmed, which is kind of what we're talking about, is how do you kind of work in a work-life balance, that book will help you choose goals and tactics over a 12-week period that could obviously be business related goals, but also personal goals. A lot of what we deal with there is, how do I find time to work out and lose weight? I want to lose weight. How do I find time? I'm too busy. I've got family, I've got business. And so that book helps put into place different things, elements, to make it a little bit more bite size over a short period of time. And then time blocking. I continue to go to classes and conferences and listen to podcasts where people continue to say you need a time block if you're going to get better with work life balance. And so I continued to try and time block, and I struggled and I failed for 4 years. And you really only fail if you quit trying, right? And so for me, I didn't want to quit. I wanted to really master time blocking, and I've gotten exceptionally good at it. And so for that agent that says, I could never take off on a Sunday and make it a family day. It's just not in the cards. I challenge you to try time blocking. I challenge you to read a book like The 12-Week Year that's going to teach you all about different types of blocks that you can put in it. And it's not scripting out your whole day. I think a lot of times people fear that, but it's scripting out the right activities during certain times of the day and certain chunks throughout the week so that you are actually getting done the things that you need to get done that week. I think another one is somebody that you might want to research is Franklin Covey. I followed him for years, the Covey planning system, and he's the guy that talks about the big rocks and that sort of thing. I know, Mark, when we had you on our podcast, we talked a little bit about that as well. But I think if you struggle with anything in life, and we're talking right now about work-life balance, we just need to find the resources. YouTube, you can go onto YouTube and you can plug in, how do I have a better work-life balance? What books can I read? And that's what I've personally done, is just explored my own journey.
Yeah, so I can attest to a lot of these things you're bringing up, Scott. I mean, the Miracle Morning is just wonderful, and I'll add one more piece to that. I've added, because I do the same thing, and I've added the 5-minute journal that he talks about in the book, and I use that. The 12-week year is just a wonderful book. And as a matter of fact, I feel like a lot of these you've picked up. I don't know if you follow Brian Buffini and the Buffini's podcast, but he talks to a lot of these guys as well. But if you're looking for places to go, books to read, just go back and forth to some of these different podcasts. They're going to give you all kinds of resources.
Absolutely. And Scott, I think when we first opened up, you really nailed on something that is really profound. That is, people have walked this earth before us. People have made mistakes before us, and they're going to make them long after us. So why not learn from those folks that have a way of articulating what they've learned in a way that you're able to consume? And that's why picking up a good book like yours, like the ones that you've mentioned, it's super important. They're no different than any of us. They just have a gift to put it on paper that allows you to absorb it and to understand, some of the ways to not make those mistakes. And it's really makes a profound impact on your life. And I can't encourage our audience and your audience enough to really pick up on those and dive deep. We're coming to the end of our time here, Scott, and I want to turn back over to you. If you had one thing to say on personal growth, or anything, to be honest with you, that you want to get across to your audience, to our audience, as to how they can better themselves from for the rest of the half of 2022 and into 2023, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Well, I think there's two things that come to mind right away. And one of them is, I think as you're budgeting for your business every year, there needs to be a budget that's dedicated to personal growth, like we talked about earlier, right? Attending conferences, earning designations. We didn't really touch too much on designations, but there's 4 key designations I think every agent should have: the ABR, the SRS, the RENE, and the PSA. We in my office we call it the core 4, and so invest in stuff like that. So budget is one thing, and then the second thing, which we already touched on as well, is you've got to be dedicating time consistently to personal growth, daily or weekly. If you're not a daily person, I know some people are like, I can't do it daily. Okay, how about once or twice a week? Can you time block to read or to attend a class and really plug in? And actually, I teach the agents that we coach to market themselves as plugging into personal development to their potential clients. In other words, to help them stand out. Wouldn't it be cool if you could tell your clients or potential clients, I invest 20 hours a month into getting better for you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, and so that's something that I think if every agent really kind of earmarked some time in their calendar for themselves to better themselves for their clients, their business is going to get better. They're going to feel more organized, and their life is going to get better. Their work-life balance is going to get better.
That's gold. That's gold. I want to say, any of our audience, look into Scott's Turn the Dial podcast. Add that to your repertoire too, because he's got some awesome stuff out there.
Absolutely. We're going to put in the show notes and also in the comment section links to not only Turn the Dial podcast, but also Scott's book and a lot of other books that we've mentioned here today, just so you can have a quick, easy resource to them. Scott, it has been fantastic. We certainly appreciate your time. We appreciate all that you are pouring into this industry and turning out on a regular basis on your podcast. And we look forward to breaking bread with you soon and seeing you at the next conference and events out there. So we really, really appreciate it and wish you and Renee all the success in the world.
Thank you. I appreciate you, Brian, and you, Mark. Thank you, guys. You guys are doing awesome with your podcast. I love it. Keep it up as well.
Great. Thanks, Scott.
All right. Take care.